The following podcast is
Welcome to the Defy Life Podcast, brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network. I'm J.R. Glenn, joined by my wonderful co-host, Alvin Glenn. What's good, cuzzo?
Yo, yo, what's good, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thomas Stevens is not here. He is out. Word on the street is Thomas Stevens saved a cat and a kindergartner from a burning building
All in one day.
all in one day.
You know,
The kindergartner was holding the cat.
haha. He is
Yeah,
still a superhero.
still a superhero. Yeah, and they say not all superheroes wear capes, but he does.
He does.
Yeah,
And a
he
hat
does. Yeah, and a hat. Yeah, a purple velvet.
with
Yeah,
some boots.
with some boots and a chalice.
There you
So,
go. There you go.
shout out to you, Thomas Stevens. Continue doing great things. The world needs you.
We need more superheroes, so keep
Right.
it up.
And apparently, the world needs it more than we need it because he ain't been here in a while. So, we got to call
Well,
HR.
uh-oh. Put a bulletin out on them.
Yeah, put a bulletin out on him. And I think our offices have moved to downtown North Dakota.
We need to get him the memo.
The memo.
We need to send him the memo.
Yeah.
Make
Not
sure his
not a
GPS is
memo,
working.
but the memo.
The memo, the official address
Absolutely.
change
I agree.
memo.
We're going to have to do that. So, shout out to Thomas.
Yeah, man. What up, Pooh?
We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, man. How's everything with you?
You know, man, we was talking last week about as a New York sports fan, how
Mm,
things is kind of gravy right here. So, um, just relishing the Knicks pulling off a big win. Can't forget to mention that the Rangers have not lost a game in the playoffs. They are 6-0. So, I mean, I hate to jinx them because I am also
all right,
a superstitious fan, so I don't want to jinx them. But
all right,
as of this recording, they were 6-0. But
okay.
the Knicks are the story right now, and just all of their games are thrilling. They take down to the wire because of the way they play. They're
Mm,
not the um, most prolific offensive team, but they play
mm,
great defense. They got a lot of will. So
mm,
what tends to happen is their games tend to come down to the wire, and
yeah,
because they got a great leader, their best player is not only poised and not only gets a lot out of his players, but he also shows up and performs well in the clutch moments. And so
yeah,
it's great to see because we haven't
mm,
had that player in a Nick uniform in a long, long time. He is
yeah.
quickly moving up the list of my favorite best Knicks of all time. He is already number five.
Mm. Ooh, okay. So you
Already
know where I'm
number
going,
five.
right?
Yes.
So not necessarily greatest or best. We ain't gonna
Right.
do that. But who your favorite Knicks of all time? If he's
Eh,
five,
eh,
who's one through five?
Yeah. So it starts with Patrick Ewing.
Mm.
Then it goes to Bernard
This
King.
is this in order?
This is in order.
Okay.
Starts with Patrick Ewing,
Uh,
goes to Bernard King. Then it goes to Walter Clyde Frazier,
okay.
then Mark Jackson,
Uh,
and then Jalen Brunson is number five. And
wow.
honorable mention to Allen Houston, honorable mention to Larry Johnson, honorable mention to
Oh my God.
Spreewell, right? All
Mm,
those cats. Um, but it's something about the way just how Jalen moved past them so quickly.
right.
It's definitely something about the way he plays, the way he
Mm,
shows up, um, the fact that he wants to be there, he wants the
right.
ball in his hand. Um, I'm just all in on Jalen Brunson. Really, really am.
Absolutely. I'm just disappointed because Chris Childs is not on that list.
You
So
know that guy because he threw that two piece at Kobe. I'm sure he's one of your favorite Knicks. But John Stark, Chris Childs, like,
yeah, no.
being a Knicks fan, we've definitely
Charlie
had some
Ward.
Charlie Ward, some interesting characters.
What does
Um,
Oakley stand on
I've liked Oak, and so he'll go down as one of my favorite Knicks of that era.
you? Okay.
But
Mm,
um, like the way he played, love that physical
yeah,
style of basketball.
no doubt. I mean, so many to choose from, man, in that organization. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've
yeah.
had some great ones. But trust me, if y'all are fans from, some of the previous seasons, Porzingis is not on that list.
Yeah.
If y'all remember, I was not a Porzingis fan when he was with
Yeah,
the Knicks.
no doubt.
So
Yeah. Shout out to Chris Stapps.
Chris Stapps,
You,
KP,
yours and Phil Jackson's favorite
right,
players.
right, of all
Yeah,
time, of all
all
time, of
right.
all time.
Yeah, man.
So,
Well, yeah, man.
but it's been
The
great
Knicks are
series,
fun to
man.
watch.
I like the way the Pacers are, they're a young team
Mm,
and so
with a
they're
bitch ass
showing,
coach.
listen, I appreciate the politicking, and
Mhm,
especially during the playoffs, right? I
no
know that
doubt.
we don't watch enough playoff series that we know when you're losing
Mhm,
and you have something to complain about to try to get an edge with the refs. I done seen some of the best coaches do it.
no doubt.
But you ain't gotta bring up big city, small city, man. Ain't nobody trying to hear
Yeah,
that.
that's kind of whack.
Ain't nobody trying to hear that.
Yeah.
Just keep it on for whatever reason. Y'all not calling the way I like it and work the refs. But bringing up big city, small city, like the refs are trying to get the Knicks into the
All right.
finals or the NBA. Now, if Rick Carlisle was one of my uncles, I would expect to hear some of these conspiracy theories because I've been hearing
Right.
conspiracy theories about the NBA since I was
Yeah.
a little boy.
Right.
But when you're a NBA coach, I'm not
Uh,
expecting that to come out your mouth.
yeah. And a veteran coach who knows better.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And that's such a flimsy argument. Like to say it's got something to do with being a small market team. Like the reigning champions ain't from Denver.
Hello.
You
Exactly.
know. So and the team that's whooping up on the reigning champions ain't from Minnesota.
Hello.
So
Can we talk about the
yeah.
Minnesota for a second?
Oh my. Yeah, man. That the
Like,
thing that's most impressive about Minnesota, one, of course, is not only how well they play defensively,
hmm
but how versatile they are defensively to me.
hmm
Like you got the a four-time defensive player of the year at center, but you also got like a wingman who's also a DPOY candidate.
Yep.
His backup is also just as good defensively, smiling in the face of the best player on the other team. Well, one of the
Like,
best
let's
players.
go.
Right. Like clapping his hands, smiling. That's devious as hell, man.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like, I don't play basketball no more because my knees don't agree with it.
And my back
But
don't.
right. But when I did, the I think the most frightening thing, and I would say I was a pretty intimidating player, but the most intimidating thing to me was to
hmm
see someone enjoying locking me down.
Mm,
And there ain't nothing I can do about it. Like that
nothing.
is intimidating. Like, and it's frustrating. This dude
Well,
is laughing, sliding 94 feet up the court.
to me, that's what's that's what I really enjoy about some sports is that you can see someone get dominated,
Mm,
and it is interesting to see when someone enjoys when they're dominating somebody else. But
yeah.
it's a mental game because to your point, I never liked it either, right? And it can
Mm,
have a crazy effect on you when you're like,
yeah.
it's nothing I can do. It's
Right.
literally nothing I can do. So
Yeah.
shout out to Anthony Edwards because when you throw that level of
Mm,
defense on a
yeah.
team and then his and Carl Anthony Towns'
Hmm.
ability to put up points,
Yeah.
they're a dangerous team.
Right. And shout out to Mike Conley for being the anchor, the
Yeah.
glue for
Yeah.
that team, the better. And like they are, and I won't say, well, we talked about last week how tough it is to repeat in general,
hmm
but it's doubly as tough when they're going against a team like Minnesota because Minnesota has the capability to exploit all of their weaknesses
hmm hmm
um, in a way that in the first round the Lakers just couldn't do, especially without a defender like Jared Vanderbilt, with
Right.
him being hurt. And so to have that kind of athleticism and length and versatility, it is kryptonite for Denver because Jokic struggles against length because he's a below the rim player.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Jamal Murray is creative, but he's not super explosive.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
And their third option can't create on his own, and Aaron Gordon.
Correct.
And so when everybody's blitzing the ball and blitzing Jokic and Murray, they got to feed off to a guy like Aaron Gordon who can't hit open shots.
That's the problem.
Right. And he's got to rely on other people to create for him or get putbacks and
Yeah.
garbage, and not necessarily garbage, but we call them garbage points. And he's just not the type he's going to create for himself, and they're going to run the offense through him. So everything bogs down. And before you
Mm-hmm.
know it, they down 20 again, but they were able to do that against the Lakers because the Lakers couldn't force stops.
Yeah.
Minnesota
I
can
think
force stops.
the other thing that's being exposed is they got a good matchup for Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And he's someone who, to your point, isn't isn't creative and consistent enough
Mm-hmm.
to take advantage
Yeah.
of this type of defense.
Yeah. And a guy like Porter, if he's not scoring and if the ball's not going in for him, he doesn't affect the game in any other way.
Correct.
So it's not like he's going to be a lockdown defender or he's going to be an energy guy.
Okay.
And that's his role, and he's good at it. But when it's not going, he doesn't have any other way to contribute. Um,
Mm.
and it's tough. And one thing I'm learning about the Nuggets, and I hate to say this, but I'm gonna call it like I see it. They seem like a bunch of front runners to me.
Mm.
It was when things aren't going their way, they starting to fall apart.
Well,
Um,
you know, when you look at who, I mean, I give Joker, I think he's mentally tough.
mm,
And even um Jamal, but to your point, you don't see that grit
right,
in that team.
right. And to our previous conversation, they had it last year.
Mm,
And it's tough to keep that up. I mean, you can only, as
mm.
you're an old school hip hop head, you can't fake the funk, but for so long, right?
No, you can't. And
And so, you know,
sometimes you need and some of the best teams when are importing players, like when to your point, it's really difficult to take the same team to repeat. And so some of those teams kind of it might be a trade or free agency, and they bring in some of that hunger in because they, to
mhm,
your point, are anticipating the team that just won it not gonna have it.
right. Yeah. So it's difficult. So
Mm.
Jokic is their leader. You mentioned him being mentally tough. Um, so I guess this question is kind of twofold. One, do you think he was worthy of being a league MVP this year?
With with the role, I thought Embiid at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the season before he gets hurt was to me the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, but I think he eliminates himself due to the injury, not just because he doesn't play enough, but like I think in terms of the actual criteria now, you got to play a certain amount of games. But
Mm-hmm.
I think you know he came back at the very end of the season playing really well. But
Right.
you got to give the Joker, to me, the credit, the edge, because he plays consistently and out of the only other player I would say you're looking at Tatum, you're looking at Anderson, maybe SGA.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm a Nick. I'm gonna throw Jalen Brunson in there,
Right.
but consistency, I think, definitely matters. And so,
Yeah.
him having done it year after year after year after year, he would have
Mm-hmm.
got my vote.
Okay. So with that, I know it's hard to compare eras, but do you think he benefits greatly from playing a traditional center style in this era?
Mm. He definitely does
Yeah.
because um he's unique in that way. It's
Right.
not is Embiid is another one who,
Right.
but it's not throughout the entire league where you're seeing
Night after
that type
night.
of player.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is why I think again, you hate to compare errors, and I think it gets skewed in a historical sense because this is what bothers me is when people say Jokic is the best big man, top three big man of all time, and that's so tough to say.
Wow.
I've heard people say that, and I've heard people say he's better than Elijah One and David Robinson, right?
Wow.
And like guy like you mentioned, Patrick Ewing, and it's Jokic is great, but I find a hard time believing he would be as dominant if he had to face
Correct.
night after night after night those type of centers who, for one, not only could combat him
Hmm. But they would
physically,
make him work.
right? But they would also be accustomed to his style of play.
Hmm.
A lot of centers these days don't know how to guard him because they're not accustomed to guarding a big back to the basket 7 footer. That's just not.
I mean, when you really think of in terms of centers in the league right now who might give him hard efforts when they compete, you throw Embiid up there,
Yeah,
Gobert,
AD occasionally,
occasionally, but even
right?
him,
Not consistently. Yeah,
yeah, right, right. Just not to your point. Elijah Ewing, they're playing Shaq, Robinson, they're playing at a time where every team had,
right. And even low end centers,
right?
and y'all don't get us. We're not saying NBA basketball in general was better or worse. It was just
Mm-mm,
different. You know,
mm-mm.
so don't come at us with that. But even lower end centers in those days were very capable. Brad Daugherty,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Very capable.
guys like that. Like I mean, Yao Ming's a
Bill
Hall of
Cartwright.
Famer. Yeah, right. Um, Robert Parrish. They weren't
Mm-hmm.
slouches,
Mm-mm.
but even if they were low end, they will be accustomed to this style of play. You just don't get that type of wave of big men.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, in a league that's dominated by perimeter play, I think he definitely benefits from, and it allows him to stand out and be his uniqueness wasn't as unique 20 years ago.
I mean, he's an extremely skilled basketball player, and so
Mm,
because of that, he's able to take advantage of
right.
the defensive deficiencies of most
Yeah.
teams. But
Right.
to his credit, great passer.
Yeah.
He
Hand-eye
shoot
coordination is
right,
crazy. Yeah.
awesome, right? I mean, and so I think um it's a combination of right time, right era,
Mm.
which is why he is showing up as one of the best in the league because
Yeah.
he
And
doesn't
he,
have a lot
he,
of
he
peers.
takes advantage of being a guy who's not overly explosive, right? He
Mm.
knows how to play angles
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you know, pump fake people out of their shoes and
Mm-hmm.
shoot from different angles. Like he's very, very crafty with that. And
To
um,
his credit,
yeah, absolutely.
to his credit, kind of
But
like Steph Curry in that way, in the sense
yeah,
of
right.
has found a way to. It's kind of like in baseball, you got the fastball, but then you got the changeup, and so most players are so used to the fastball.
Hmm.
If you got an effective changeup, you're going to strike a lot of people out. And so, to your
Absolutely.
point, I think if playing defense, whether it's going against a left-handed person, but you're used to playing right-handed,
Yeah.
or you're used to playing a more explosive athlete, when you
Hmm.
come across some of them crafty, slower athletes that just are
Right.
more skilled,
And play at their own pace. Right.
right? Jalen
Yeah.
Brunson is another one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
And when and which makes him, like players like Jokic, Steph, more, I don't want to say likable, but relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Because as fans, most people look at guys like that and say, this guy can't jump over a phone book. I could do that if I
But
wanted
he,
to.
but he's still scoring
Right.
50
I
points.
could do that if I tried. If I was still in my 20s, and I could have done that.
Yeah,
As
okay.
opposed to guys like Shaq or LeBron,
Mm.
who
Or
people just feel won the,
Anthony
right.
Edwards.
Yeah. People just feel like, he just won the Gene Lottery.
Right, right,
Um,
right. And that's
so
neither to me like what people in both cases are selling these athletes short
yeah.
is the level, amount of effort, skill development, training,
Hmm.
taking advantage of what your particular gifts are and bringing
Right.
something to the team effort. And,
Yeah.
um, you know, to your point, I think unless you, a lot of people don't appreciate how skilled Shaquille was with his footwork and with his
Hmm.
body.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are takes I hate to hear. It's stuff like, well, if Shaq didn't just bully his way into the lane, all he do is dunk. If LeBron wasn't so big or strong, if Michael couldn't jump so high, like
Mm-hmm.
I hate stuff like that because that's part of your skill set.
Yeah, yeah.
So I couldn't say like, well, if Sandy Koufax couldn't throw the ball, so he may have such a strong arm,
Right,
it
right,
wouldn't
right,
be good. Like, Randy Johnson didn't have a cannon for an arm.
right.
If Peyton Manning didn't have such accuracy, like, no, that's part of your skill set. That's what makes you who
That's
you
what
are.
made them great.
Right.
That's what
So,
made
and
them great.
because it's a whole lot of dudes with strong arms can jump high who didn't do
A lot of big muscular
that.
cats who never made
Right.
it to the league.
Yeah, I don't know if any of y'all know Stanley Roberts,
Hello.
but
Right, right.
he was Shaq said it himself. Stanley Roberts was way like twice as good as he was, but he just didn't
Mm.
work hard. So yeah, it's just part of being great. It's doing great things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And doing them a lot, doing them
yeah,
often. And so
absolutely.
we'll see if Denver can come back because they definitely on the ropes right here. And
Yeah.
I think I have more faith in the Pacers
Mm,
making a run with the Knicks
right.
than I do with Denver getting off the mat and beating Minnesota. It's just to your point, I don't like the look on the faces when I look at the Denver Nuggets. Like
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I like it because I'm not a Denver fan. Um,
you
but I mean,
like what you see.
I like we're right, but and it's not like Jamal Murray just had an off night and missed a bunch of open shots, or Jokic is like Jokic's defense can get a whole lot better,
Mm,
but it's not unusual. He kind of lapses on
no,
defense. He's gotten better,
it
but he's not an elite defender.
their best hope is Anthony Edwards has an off night. Like I think that's
Yeah.
what they're banking on to get
Hmm.
back in this series is somehow he can't be as dominant as he has been. He's been the best
Yeah.
player on the court.
Right. But the only thing with that is even if he does have an off night, two things can happen and probably will. They got
Hmm.
another All Star
Hmm.
and prolific
Hmm.
offensive player in Carl Anthony Towns,
Yep.
and two, defense tend typically doesn't have off nights.
Yes, that's true.
This defense it travels well. So whether it's a home or road or defense doesn't go away. Defense is like the truth. You don't have to keep making it
Yeah.
up. It's going to show up.
It's gonna
Right.
stay right there with you,
All right.
which is why it's so easy to love these Knicks if you love
Yeah.
hard nosed defensive
All right.
uh teams
Yeah.
because they tend to play good D. I think Minnesota's a better
Mm,
defensive team, but
yeah.
New
They're
York
different
plays
defensively, though. Yeah.
well. I think that
Yeah.
the injuries are
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
gonna come up to hurt. Like, cause
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard anything about OG. He hurt his hamstring last night, but I haven't
Mm-hmm.
heard any updates on if he's gonna be in and out. But I am extremely impressed with how that dude plays defense.
Yeah. Yeah,
OG Ananobi.
yeah. So do you think? And I know as a go-to guy, as a one, Julius Randle's not your favorite guy,
Correct.
but do you think it was losing him was kind of addition by subtraction, or would you have liked to seen him in this playoff run the way they're playing?
I would have liked to see him in this playoff run the way they were playing. I think the way the Knicks were playing, Jalen was already cemented as
Right,
I can't say the guy because
right,
Julius Randle was
right.
still a guy as well. So they
Yeah.
were developing as the guy. But my point is just that I think what has happened in Julius Randle's absence is Dante and Josh Hart have
Mm,
stepped up.
mm,
And I think they would have been more role players with Julius Randle, and even Isaiah Hartenstein. I think
right,
they've had to elevate their games to make up for the Julius Randle loss. And so I
right.
think that's definitely a factor. But either way, I'd have rather have Julius. I mean, I didn't like him as to your point, as the number one option,
Mm.
but I thought he played hard. I thought you know, was growing and was giving
Yeah.
him some space to hopefully get it
All
right.
right.
Some of the mistakes he was making, just in terms of some of his choices on the court.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I like Julius Randle.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
he's one of the only dudes I've ever seen stand up to Zach Randolph.
well, it's
Mm,
interesting, right? Because when he came in, I kind of saw him as a Zach Randolph clone.
well,
Like that was kind of
right.
my ceiling for him. But
Yeah,
um, I he's shown up to be more of a more athletic version
yeah,
than I imagined.
yeah. And I think the shifting of the game kind of forced
Mm-hmm.
him to change his style.
Yeah, yeah.
But
He.
yeah, that was definitely my comp for him. Is just Zach Randolph when he came to the
Mm-hmm.
league. But
Mm-hmm.
he's absolutely better shooter, more athletic, more range. And in today's game, the tough guys are dying breed.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
I do think as good as the season has went for the Knicks. I mean, because I think that OG trade
Mm,
of RJ Barrett was one that I wasn't sure about, but I'll take that as a win.
yeah,
I'm like,
absolutely.
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
But Obi Toppin, I
yeah,
wish they had kept.
yeah,
And I understood. I really think they did a solid for Obi. It was just like, look, we got Julius here. You're not
right,
gonna be the guy. We like you. We're not gonna sign you. Just go
right,
ahead and we'll get something for you.
yeah,
But with Julius getting hurt, we would have liked to have Obi on our team. And
yeah.
but
That'd be nice.
the question though is, do they, because they've got evidence of they can be successful without Julius Randle,
Mm,
do you move him in the offseason?
yeah, it's tough.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't care what sport it is, but it's tough to get rid of talent willingly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a tough question. Yeah, before we move on, I've been duped for the last few years. I had no idea that Isaiah Hartenstein was a black dude. Yes.
Me too.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, he's mixed. His dad's black. Like,
Oh, I didn't
yeah,
know that at all.
his dad's like darker than me. But yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and especially his last name's Hartenstein. So, I never would have thought it. But yeah,
Hmm. That's
yeah,
that's interesting. He's
yeah.
someone who has I thought he was gonna be more of a shooter for some
Mm,
reason. I
right,
don't know, just thought he could shoot.
right.
But um he will go down, and they look at this season as just one of the unsung surprise heroes of this year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's
He's
definitely
played
more
well.
capable than I thought he'd be.
Yeah, he's played well. He's played well.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, man. real quick, we'll do a deeper dig on this next week, but give a little bit of a tease on Major League Baseball.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so we'll those of you who are not aware, occasionally we do a Al's our resident baseball expert here, as well as hockey. But yeah, so we occasionally do a Al's baseball roundup. So
Yeah.
we'll have your music queued up next week. But
Thank you.
get a folks a little bit of a
Well,
taste of what
little
to expect.
teaser, as we come into the season, just so everybody understands, I am still a diehard Yankee fan, diehard Dodger fan. And so, good thing
For
about
those who don't know, how did that happen? A
for
Yankee
those who
and
haven't heard the
Dodgers fan.
story,
Yeah.
and literally since I'm a little boy,
All
I'm
right.
I'm I'm a fan of those teams.
Mm,
The Dodgers, I'm a Dodger fan because in the 70s, and honestly, in the 70s, I'm watching baseball, and the Yankees or Dodgers are two popular, successful teams. So again, like most kids and as they watch sports when they're, young, if a team is winning, it's a chance that you might become a fan of that
all
team.
right.
I'm also a fan because of the Dodgers, because as you grow up in Brooklyn, you grow up in New York City, a lot of older black people were Dodger
Mm,
fans
all right.
because they used to be Brooklyn Dodgers. They were
Mm,
also the team that gave Jackie Robinson a shot. So there was, as I'm a kid and teenager, I'm meeting a lot of black people in New York
all
City
right.
who Dodgers were their favorite team. So
Mm-hmm.
that just kind of fueled me to hang on to that team.
All
And
right.
then I, if you are a New York fan of sports, you got to be a fan of one of the local teams.
All right.
And so, I'm a Yankee fan mainly because the Dodgers and the Mets are in the National League. So you can't really
All
root for
right.
both of them. So eventually I just latch on to the Yankees as a teenager
All
and
right.
just ride them on out. But
Mm,
um, diehard Yankee, diehard Dodger fan. And
all
to
right.
their credit, they are really both looking good as the season
Mhm.
starts. And so many people might have heard about the Dodgers signing that 700 million dollar contract, Shohei
Mhm.
Ohtani. So that was a big deal coming into this year, and he's having a great season, one of the major
Yeah.
league leaders in home runs. And then on the Yankee side, they didn't have the greatest year last year, but they made some really good moves. They got a young outfielder, Juan Soto, in a trade from the Padres, and he's from New York and is just thriving in this new team. And so had a good year. And so with him, Aaron Judge as the 1, 2, the Yankees have got up to a good start. And so
Yeah.
they need some help with
And what's the
pitching.
name's healthy this year so far.
Giancarlo Stanton
Yeah, yeah. And
and knocking them out the park
Izzy, yeah.
quickly. He
Mhm.
when he hits the ball, it's like a line drive,
All
and
right.
you hear the ball screaming because
All
it's
right.
getting hit at like 120 miles per
All
hour off the
right.
off the bat. So, yeah. So that's a little insight on my two favorite teams, but I'll come next week with some more, some updates and maybe some rule changes and just how, maybe even give you some predictions of who we might expect to get to the end of this in September.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah. We look forward to it. So yeah, so next week we'll have an Owls baseball roundup. We'll also introduce our new listeners to a round of trivia,
Hey.
where I put Al and Thomas through a round of brain twisting, exhausting trivia, and they'll now have their turn with me. So yeah, it's always pretty fun. But we'll do this occasionally, especially in slow times like this when there's not a lot of NFL going on. And,
Nah,
so we like to break it up a little bit.
sounds good. Sounds good.
Cool, man. You got anything else before we leave?
Nah, man, just we going into Mother's Day weekend, so show some love to your mother. Take some time out on Sunday to, you know, if you are blessed to have them in your life, show them some love.
Absolutely, man. I agree. That's what I was gonna say. Show all the mothers in your life some love
Mm,
this weekend, man. As I mean, we always should, but give them a little bit extra this week.
yes.
Your wives, I know. You know, when I mean, Al, you're aware, most of our listeners are. My wife was out of town aiding her father at the time for 6 weeks,
Mm.
and I got it done, but I was beat up when scrambling. So I got two teenage boys. It was not easy
Not
feeding them
easy.
and getting them around.
Not
So
easy.
shout out to my wife, my mom, my sisters, my cousins, my aunts, all of y'all,
Yes.
man. So
Yes.
show the mothers in your life some love. And
They
shout
are
out
truly a
to,
blessing. Mothers are
yes,
truly a blessing.
absolutely. For those of you who are aware with our previous show, shout out to Keita, shout out to Gina, and shout out to Lady. We love
No
y'all.
doubt. No doubt. We love you. Shout out to all the moms and wives of one-eyed shut.
No doubt. Cool, man. Well, Thomas, we'll see you next week, man. Hope you ain't break an ankle, twist the ankle, break a leg, or nothing. They're saving lives, man. Hope the cat and the kindergarten are good.
Right, right, right. Cape. We
Uh,
don't want that cape to get caught up in the branches or something as we get him out the tree.
Absolutely, man. Y'all go out there and do us a solid like, comment, share, subscribe. Find us on YouTube at Go Defy Life. You can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms. Check out Al's other show, Aftergate. All of our shows on the network. We'll see y'all next week. Until then, Defy Life.
Defy life.